Okay, there we go. What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. This is Hanako, and I'm here with Anthony and Mike, and we are discussing The Marvels. Just came out in theaters this weekend. I want to talk about it, and I want to hear your opinions on it because I'm getting the feeling from Anthony's comment a few minutes ago that he is less than enthusiastic about this movie.
Whatever.
First,
Come on, I have
first
some
thought.
legitimate concerns, but we can start with Mike though.
Okay, first thoughts, Michael, and nothing like just basic thoughts. Did you like it? Did you not like it?
All right. I like this movie. I thought it was a good movie. It was uneven in some parts, but for some reason, Marvel movies have been plagued with this writing unevenness for like the last few movies. It
Mhm.
seems like there's a lot of places in it a lot of things that could have been written better, some things that could have been done better. However, Iman Vellani is a star. I love this girl. She is fucking awesome. I love her to death. I think I actually like Brie Larson in this too. I think Brie Larson came back from being when they called her wooden in the other one. I think that she gave actually really good performance in this one. I'm not sure. I don't know what they're doing with Tiana. It's like here's the thing. I I loved her performance in WandaVision. I just think that they didn't give her enough or whatever they wrote for her. She couldn't get into her performance for some reason. For me, that's my opinion. I didn't think that she really got into her performance the way that Imani did and the way that Brie did. And it's like I felt like they could have given her a little bit more, especially with that fucking end credit scene. I'm like, come the fuck on.
I
It's like
really good in that end credit scene, but we'll get to that. But
but it's like, but I really like this movie. I like how they interjected Kamala's parents and her brother into it, even though they left his wife out of it. You know, they just got married and he's gallivanting into space. But I'm not even gonna go there. Um, Samuel L. Jackson kind of okay. See, you look at it and I'm getting like Anthony. I'm like, God damn it. I'm noticing a pattern. It's like none of the black people seem like they wanted to be there. I'm like, what the fuck? I needed I needed more from
Thank you for
these people.
saying that. That's why I wanted you to go first. Thank you.
It had to be said because because Tiana's performance there. It's like Imani's performance was fucking outstanding. Brie actually had a much better performance than she's had previously. And it's like the fight choreography was great. I mean, the Flurkins stole the show, of course. Yes, yes. Because Flurkins, little babies eating people and taking them in spaceships. Yeah, yeah, whatever. That's fine. Tom Hiddleston's wife. Uh, why are all the black people not in this movie?
okay, I have a
I can't,
different.
okay. Look, I love the movie. I think that for some reason there are certain characters that didn't seem to be like enthralled in the movie. So that's my opinion.
Okay, Anthony, we're going with you.
Okay, so let me start by saying it was a fun movie.
Yeah,
Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed it. I had a great time. I had some issues though.
Mm-hmm.
Much, much the same as Mike. Like one of the first things I thought of was that Tiana, there were some scenes where it was like she was kind of lost. Like she was just there and
Mm-hmm.
maybe and seemed like she was sort of I don't want to use the word spaced out, but and I don't want to say effort. It was as if she wasn't given any direction. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like she was just kind of over there. Oh, she smiled, make a joke, laugh, but it wasn't like she was really, really invested. Um, and
was she pregnant at this time?
I don't know.
I think she may have been.
but I don't think they had anything to do with it.
I don't think so either. But I
I don't
have a
think
different viewpoint
I,
on that from y'all. So
because she had some moments where, like, especially when she was had her thing with Captain
Carol.
Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with Carol. There was some moments where I was like, okay. But there were some other times when like it was as if she was just like the third wheel, fourth wheel, or whatever, and wasn't really involved.
Mm-hmm.
Um the choreography was great. I like the fight choreography. Now, my biggest issue, and Michelle, the person who I live with, I'm related to by marriage, she said, okay, so I was like, Samuel Jackson, this Nick Fury was not the same Nick Fury we saw in
I
Secret.
agree.
He
I
was not.
agree.
I don't know who this Nick Fury was. I said I hadn't seen him before. Michelle's like, no, you have. He was in the first in Miss Marvel. He was in the Captain Marvel movie.
Mm-hmm.
That they sort of went back to that character. But that doesn't work for me because we just saw him in Secret Invasion, and this takes place after Secret Invasion. So, and even if it took place before Secret Invasion, he's still not the same Nick Fury. So I was just sort of confused. And then he was borderline buffoonery. He was just being a buffoon. He wasn't, it's like he was just there for comic relief. And that's not how I want my Nick Fury. I
Right.
Yeah, he's
understand they're trying to
he was giving setup lines. It's like remember like Michael Rambeau couldn't fly. He was like Black Girl Magic, and I'm like, the fuck did that come from?
I actually
right.
like that part.
And
But it's not Nick Fury.
it's not
I
Nick
get the
Fury.
line, but that's not
If
a
it
Nick
was
Fury line,
anybody else,
Mm-hmm.
if it
right?
was Evan Ross, it would be great. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? It would have been a great line for him. But it was like, okay, they were trying, it's like they were trying to meld two different styles together
Mm-hmm.
between Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel, the movie and the TV show. So you sort of had them trying to meld this together. And then Nick Fury and Tiana were just like side things that didn't really fit in what they were trying to do.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? So
Yep.
that made me unsettled with this movie because it just didn't seem like some of the pieces didn't make sense. They didn't work.
Okay.
And but it was fun. I mean, I'd watch it again. It was
Okay.
a fun.
Like for example, real quick, the moment when she put the mind things on, and all three of them were laying down,
Mm-hmm.
and Danvers accidentally stuck on the image of her mom. When they came out of that, I hated her reaction to it. I was like, you need to react stronger than that because you thought that she left her behind. You thought that she didn't care, and you saw that she sat with her while you were dusted. She sat with her, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like I didn't get like
Yeah.
I didn't get a reaction from this. It's like I didn't get the reaction I was expecting. It's like I didn't see any emotion from her. I saw some emotion, but it's like I didn't see enough emotion where you saw that what she saw. You know what I'm saying? It's like
It's like she just kind of glossed over the fact that she was literally telling Carol, you know, you're not I need you to, like, you know what I'm saying? Like the whole conversation they had, it was as if she didn't even see that happen. And she didn't
right.
have the reaction to it. And I was just like, okay, that should have given her some insight into what Carol was thinking, but no.
So I looked at all of that
Okay. I'm
very
sorry. I'm
differently.
sorry.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry. And one other thing, like, where was Carol's remorse, what she did to Kree? Like, you basically committed genocide or was about to commit genocide.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't go back and check on them. You didn't go back and do any of that. And even if you did go back and you saw what was happening, you didn't try to fix it or do anything about it. It seems like she was so nonchalant and cavalier about the whole situation. And yeah, I understand now she was reaping the, I don't want to say benefits,
She was reaping what
but
she sowed.
the consequences of her
Mm-hmm.
actions or whatever. But it's almost as if she didn't really understand the ramifications of what she had done.
And I don't think she did. And I think that was the whole point. So I looked at this from a different perspective all around. I do have some of the same, feelings about things that you guys have already touched on. It was a very fun movie. I love the choreography. As far as Nick Fury, I also looked at it as this was a completely different Nick Fury than we got in Secret Invasion. And I was actually thankful for that because I was not impressed with Secret Invasion Nick Fury. I mean, we've already talked about that show and how that show fell very, very low from what our expectations were for what it was going to be and how it fits into the bigger MCU picture. But Nick Fury, for me, through the Avengers movies, he's always been one that's, I won't say comic relief, but he's always had like the snippy one-liners and the injecting a little bit of comedy into certain situations. So it wasn't that off for me, what I saw him doing in this film. And like
There's a difference between making wisecracking and being a buffoon. In this movie, he was borderline buffoonery.
Mm-hmm.
He's more sarcastic in his like tone in his comebacks than anything. And it's like I hardly got any sarcasm in this movie.
And just to your point, and then I apologize for interjecting, but like he wasn't in the previous incarnations of Nick Fury, even in Secret Invasion, it was more about his actions that I had issue with in Secret Invasion, not necessarily his performance.
Mm-hmm.
So Nick Fury as a character overall was okay in Secret Invasion. It's just I didn't think that those were the decisions, or that's not how Nick Fury would be. But when you put it in the context of the PTSD, then okay, maybe this could be something I could be okay with as far as his performance, as far as his characterization. But this was not any version of Nick Fury that I recognized.
Okay. I get it. The other thing I was going to say, as far as Teyana's performance as Monica Rambeau, I think what we're looking at with her, at least what I came away with it for her, you have a person who, especially for the last few years, has been through a ridiculous amount of personal trauma. You know, this is somebody who was snapped, came back from the snap to find out her mom had died. As far as she knows, her Aunt Carol abandoned her when she was a little kid. You know, she left with the saying, "I'll be back before you know it," and she never showed, she never came back. So you have her feeling abandoned by her Aunt Carol. And then she goes through the stuff in WandaVision. She goes through the hex and she comes out with these powers. And this is somebody who has had to deal with all of this on her own, because obviously if you've been gone for 5 years, pretty much, I'm sure whatever friendship circle she had at the time, that probably was shattered, because, I mean, you can't really keep up friendships if you're gone for 5 years. You know what I'm saying? So you have that situation with her. And then we've seen that, like in WandaVision and even at the beginning of this movie, whenever Carol is mentioned, it's kind of okay, I don't want to talk about her. I don't want to talk to her. And obviously there's some feelings of resentment there with Monica. And we mentioned that when we talked about WandaVision. So in this movie, one, she gets to be face to face with Carol for the first time in like 30 years. She's not mentally prepared for it. She's not emotionally prepared for it. And then you have this situation where her powers are being intertwined with Carol's powers and this new person, Kamala Khan. And so not only is she having to deal with the uncomfortableness of being in this space and being in this situation with somebody she's not ready to deal with emotionally, then you have this third person in this group, this young person, someone who is kind of reminiscent of what she was as a child. This is someone who is very besotted with Captain Marvel, or with Captain Marvel or Carol. And, it's like, I felt like she was she really was on the outside looking in. You know, Mike, you mentioned she was like a third wheel, like she didn't know what to do. And I felt like that was on purpose because she's in this space where she wants to do the right thing. She wants to help. She wants to help do, you know, save the world, save whatever she's supposed to do. But she's also in this space where you have this woman that you're kind of uncomfortable being around right now because you haven't seen her since you were a child, and you have all of this resentment because you feel like she abandoned you. Then you have this other person in here who is basically acting like a version of you when you were that age, someone who was clearly taken with you know, your aunt, you know, idolized her and all this other stuff. And I feel like there was a little bit of resentment and jealousy there on her part, and that she was trying not to, I feel like she was trying not to acknowledge that because, of course, this is something Kamala has been pulled into. She doesn't know what's going on. So it's not like this is something that's happening on purpose. But she has some trauma there that she has not had a chance to properly address. And then she's thrown into this situation. And I feel like that was what we were seeing in this film. And it's like, after she and Carol had that discussion where she basically told Carol, you abandoned us, you left us. And Carol told her about what happened on Hala and how she felt like she couldn't come back until she fixed it because she didn't want Monica to see that version of her. Things started being different for her from that point on in the movie. So I really looked at it like all of that was on purpose. You know, I didn't look at it and say, oh, she doesn't have direction. Oh, she acts like she doesn't want to be here. Or, you know, it didn't throw me in that sense. I really felt like that was a part of the character that she was playing. And it was just that emotional thing. Like she's still trying to keep Carol at arm's length. And Carol, of course, we have to remember, for years, she thought she was Kree. She had been brainwashed. She had been manipulated. She thought she was Kree. She had no emotional ties to these people because she didn't remember them. So a lot of what we saw in the first movie or in the Captain Marvel movie was her being this Kree person and then finding out that she actually was human and that she had been changed by this, you know, this series of events, and her trying to reconcile the new person that she was to the old person that she was. And I think that's a lot of why I didn't really connect with her in that first movie, because like I said, when we discussed Secret Invasion a couple of weeks ago, I didn't even remember the Captain Marvel movie until I rewatched it. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. But then now you have her in this film and she knows who she is. She's been trying to reconcile that, but at the same time, she's dealing with the trauma that she had from, you know, what Jude Law's character did to her. I can't remember his name. And so I just felt like that was just like, that was what we were seeing in this film. We were seeing them try to reconcile all of this stuff and all this trauma that happened, but still trying to do what they were supposed to do to save Hala or to fight this Darban or whatever the case was. And um it just, to me, it felt like, I'm trying to think. So the way that I looked at it, as far as all of this stuff, and then with Darben and all this, I was like, okay, so they have this trauma that they need to deal with. They dealt with it, and then they moved on. And they, you know, kept pushing forward. And it wasn't one of those things where it was like Monica's character. I think what we're used to seeing with people who are in a position like her, with Carol, you're used to seeing them act out. You're used to seeing them having emotional responses, kind of like what you were expecting from her, Mike, after they came out of the little mind meld thing. But I just think it for her, I think she was just more so, okay, we need to do this, we need to do this. I don't have time to have this breakdown. I don't have time to be emotional because that's not going to help anything. That's kind of the mentality I get from her. So I looked at it completely different on that, on, you know, in that respect.
I get that, but I mean, I I think maybe my expectations, I mean, I am the Marvel apologist of the group, so maybe my expectations were just up here because I really liked her in WandaVision, the little bit that we saw of her in WandaVision, that made me very excited for this movie because I was like, okay, she's gonna kill this shit. She's gonna tear it up. It's like I was looking forward to her, like you just like really exploring the role. And maybe it's not her, maybe it's the script that was written. I mean, but it just seemed like they didn't like she didn't have enough to do to give her character the life that they gave Kamala Khan. Like Kamala has life all over this movie, and
But
like
the
Brie
other
Larson.
thing is, Monica has not like we've gotten a little part of Monica's origin story, but she has not had like a whole movie or a whole series dedicated just to her character. And I think that's part of the problem. Like we've seen Captain Marvel's backstory. We've seen what happened to her. We got a whole movie about that. Same for Kamala Khan. We basically got a whole movie in the form of 6 episodes telling us about who she was, how she got her powers, and exploring her character. We haven't really had that with Monica, and that's part of the problem. Because even
And
when we were introduced to her, she was a side note in Wanda's story. And then we got that little bit of her in, when we find out about the blip and everything. We haven't gotten the full background about Monica Rambeau. And I think that's part of the problem because you're putting her in this story with these other two very well established characters when we still don't really know much about her, and we really don't know much about her personality, about what makes her who she is, about how she got into all of this. I mean, obviously she got into this because of Carol and that influence, but we still don't really know who she is, and I think that's part of the problem.
I think that's probably what is missing from this movie. This was their opportunity to give us Monica Rambeau because, just based off of what we have discussed in the past, I know I've said we don't need to have the TV show to get. We didn't need that with Kamala. Like, if you didn't watch Miss Marvel, you got a lot about her in this movie. You understand kind of what she is. Same thing with Captain Marvel. Wait, Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel. But with Monica, you don't really get anything. Like you get the throwaway line, oh yeah, I walked through a thing, a force field created by a hex, by a witch. That's how I got my powers. And that was it. I'm saying, so, this was the shortest MCU movie at an hour. So we're talking about 15 to 20 minutes of character development that could have been thrown in that us Marvel fans wouldn't have minded. I wouldn't have minded. I understand everything you said, and I almost completely agree with you. It's just that what it sounds like to me is that you can do two things with this movie. You can fill in the gaps with how with what you think is supposed to happen, or you can be like, there's gaps and you're not filling it in. So I'm in a space where her, like, since I don't get her talking about her trauma or showing or acting out or showing us that she's been affected by this, since I don't see that or get that, then it's missing because I'm not just going to assume, well, she's acting that way because of her trauma. I need a little bit more. And it's a little bit, I don't want to say disheartening, but we have seen the writers for these MCU things do a really good job at dealing with characters who have trauma. Like that is something that has been consistent throughout everything that we've seen. No matter how good or bad the movie is, we always get a lot of characters dealing with trauma. Even in Eternals, you have characters dealing with trauma.
Right.
And they do a good job of it. It's just that here we have two characters who have trauma. One character who has a lot of it and had to confront it, and here she is confronted with it, and we don't get I don't get anything to grasp on with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to assume that she's acting like that because she's traumatized, because I don't get any indicators for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would prefer to see her act out emotionally. I'll prefer to see her yell at Carol or be snippy at Carol.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even as a pilot and she's being logical and trying to be straightforward and trying to get her job done, you are still a human and you still have emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't feel like I was getting that from her. So even when they're on the planet where people sing to communicate with each other, which I thought was great.
I love that
Wait,
part.
you did?
I
Wait,
did.
you
I
actually
thought it
like
was
that?
great. I actually
What?
like that because
Wow.
it wasn't like, oh, we're having a musical episode. No, you're on a planet where they communicate through music. I'm totally down for that. Or through singing.
Right.
So like, instead of her being like this, she could have been like, this is absolutely ridiculous. We need to save these people or whatever. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna stand over here and I'm gonna dance and do things off to the side that don't really make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So there were scenes like that that just kind of bothered me. Like I wanted more from her. I wanted more story. I wanted to see more of her emotions. Like Mike said, Kamala, her emotions are all over the place.
Yeah.
And it was evident and it was obvious. Same
But
thing with
Kamala is also still a 16-year-old girl,
right.
so
But
she's
even
acting
but we
the
got it
way
with
a
Carol.
16, yeah.
But we got it with Carol too. We just didn't get it with Monica. Maybe a beat or two here or there.
Mm-hmm.
But this was your opportunity to introduce this character to the MCU audience who didn't know her or hadn't seen her or don't have any experience with her.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have the background information about her, if you don't have all that stuff, if you didn't have that little montage, you wouldn't really care about her. Like you're not investing in who she is and
Mm-hmm.
what she is.
Yeah.
And so I think that would have made the post credit scene more impactful because here she is confronting with her mom,
Mm-hmm.
or to her who is her mom. Okay, and I guess it's a little personal to me because I didn't have, just like her, I didn't have that last moment with my dad before he died.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She didn't have that last moment with her mom before he died. I know what that feels like.
Mm-hmm.
I know what that looks like.
Right.
That's not right. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
to me personally.
Yeah.
That doesn't work for me.
I do feel like they
And
can.
oh, I'm sorry. And her reaction to Carol is not the same as my reaction to my family that could have done something about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, made it possible for me to do that, or at
Mm-hmm.
least be there for me in that way.
Mm-hmm.
That's not so for me personally. I'm not speaking for everybody, but for me, her her performance was not authentic to her experience
Okay.
because of my experience.
Okay. I got it. I get you. Um, I do think that, especially with the way that they've been coming out with these series and stuff, they should have done something with Monica before this movie came out. Like, honestly, this could have been, we could have gotten something about her in place of what we got for Secret Invasion, because Secret Invasion really had nothing to do, like, there was nothing about Secret Invasion that we needed to know in order to watch Miss Marvel. You get what I'm saying? Because everything that happened in that series, none of that, there was nothing referred to that in Miss Marvel. I mean, in the Marvels. We didn't need Secret Invasion right now. They could have given us Secret Invasion next year. They would have had some time to tweak it or to really think about what they were doing with that show before giving it. Because again, even with this one, I can't tell whether or not this was before Secret Invasion or after Secret Invasion because of the way Nick Fury was. He was completely different. We didn't see his wife. We didn't hear him mention anything about this Skrull invasion takeover that's happening on Earth. None of that stuff came up. So why did we even need to have that back then? They could have given us 6 episodes on Monica Rambeau, or even if it wasn't just about her, because like you said, Anthony, unless you actually watched WandaVision and the stuff about her, you really wouldn't care about her character because we don't know enough about her character at this point. They could have done something, even if it was give us a few more parts of her in a different Disney Plus show. Like it could have been just like she piggybacked off of WandaVision. They could have put her in something else where we would have gotten to know her character. They could have stuck her in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or they could, it just.
I mean,
they could have put her in Secret Invasion.
I was just about to say that they could have put her in Secret Invasion, and it would have made more sense. Now I do understand also that because the Marvels was delayed, I think it was pushed back twice. I understand that probably also messed up the way that those timelines were supposed to be, just like it was with Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Black Widow introducing that Valentina character. Maybe
there were a lot of reshoots in this movie too. Like they reshot a lot because they added more parts with Brie Larson in it because they didn't have her in it as much as they did before, which is ironic because it seems like she was in the movie the whole time and didn't take anything out. But I agree with you because look at what Invincible did. Invincible gave us 2 or 3 episodes about Adam Eve that we didn't even ask for, but that actually gives us more understanding of her character, like out of the blue. They could have done that. We didn't need a whole season. They could have just done like a little mini series.
A one shot.
A one shot, like they did Werewolf, like the Werewolf one or the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. They could have done something.
In all fairness, I will say this. In all fairness to Disney and Marvel, it's not the first time they've done this. Like that's what they did with the Black Panther. Like they just kind of interjected him into a movie. But
that one.
But then they gave us a whole movie about him.
Then you got a whole movie about him afterwards, right? But that
actually worked because Chad acted well in that movie, though.
He did, like, and you also had
he gave you emotion in that movie.
Yeah, because you also had the inciting incident, which is his father being killed. That it was a part of the story. It didn't seem like they tried to weave Monica's story into this as much. You know what I mean? So, and like I said, between that and Nick Fury is very hard to consider this a really good movie, even though it is entertaining and enjoyable. And sometimes it's all you can ask. I would have said less Flurkins and more Monica because I'm not gonna lie.
No.
I think after 1 or 2 of the crew members got sucked in, I didn't need like 10 minutes of it. I really didn't.
I get you. I get you. Yeah. But I mean,
Hanako's not going to say no to like a shit ton of cats on her train. You know good and damn well that she's not going to say that.
I know she's not. She's biased towards this.
I am.
She's got a bunch of Flurkins running around her house now.
I hate cats, and I thought that moment that was like because it reminded me of the Tribbles in Star Trek. I was like, okay, these motherfuckers are everywhere. They're falling out of every orifice in this space station. I'm like, shit. But then the way they go ahead.
Now, I will say this: if we had to do less of something in order to get more of Monica, we could have did less of Dar-Benn, because I will say that is the one thing I did not really care for in this movie. I like the fact that they gave us, just like they gave us female protagonists, they also gave us a female antagonist. That's one of the things I do love about this movie. It was very female. It wasn't about trauma being caused by a man, or Dar-Benn didn't have, like, her motivation wasn't because she lost the love of her life because Carol Danvers killed him. It wasn't that type of revenge or villain origin story. I appreciated that so much. Because usually whenever it comes to female villains or female bad guys, it's always having to do with that kind of trauma. So I very much appreciated that. At the same time, I was not really impressed with this villain. She felt, if you talk about a performance that did feel kind of wooden for me, it was hers. For someone who was supposed to be so angry at Carol Danvers because of what she did, and granted, we know what Captain Marvel did as far as taking out the Supreme Intelligence. We know that she wasn't thinking beyond what had happened to her. They basically took her life away from her and they manipulated her. They basically mind raped her. Let's put it in those terms. So I can understand her anger and going and doing what she said she was going to do. She said she was going to take down the Supreme Intelligence. She wasn't thinking about what the after effects were going to be for that. And she wasn't thinking that that was something that was going to catastrophically destroy this planet. Because why would she think that? You know what I'm saying? But for someone who is supposed to be so angry about what had happened to her planet and to be so emotional about it when she says what's going on, I didn't feel that from her. You know what I'm saying? It just didn't, her performance just didn't hit me the way I feel like it should have.
I'm gonna say something, and I'm not saying they were plagiarizing, but I understand story structure. If you go back and watch the first Guardians of the Galaxy, is that the right one? With Ronan?
Yes.
It follows a very similar story structure.
It does. It does.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. And sitting there watching it, I'm like, this is like another version of Guardians of the Galaxy. And I don't know, they've done this before and it kind of doesn't really work, because just because the structure worked before and was very successful doesn't mean it's going to work again.
Mm-hmm.
And Ronan is not a well-liked villain in the MCU. Like, no one really cares for him because he really wasn't much of anything other than, oh, I'm going to destroy the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And that, or destroy the what, I forgot what they were called. He was going to destroy them, the Nova Corps and the Nova
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And that's sort of the same feeling here. She's like, oh, her only motivation is, it seems like it's to save Hala, but she's really more interested in hurting Carol. Yeah,
Yeah.
because she targeted the worlds that Carol called home
Mm-hmm.
to get to save her planet.
Yeah.
So, and even in the end, when Carol's like, oh, I can relight your son, I can save Hala. Well, let me go do that. She's like, no, I want to kill you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I want to hurt you anyway. And I'm not the what do they call them? The mustache twirling villains.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really
Mhm.
care for that. Like, I love Guardians of the Galaxy, but Ronan was sort of a wasted character.
Right.
Here, same thing. Darban's sort of kind of a wasted character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could have done so much with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, wooden is the perfect description for her performance because it's like I got nothing from her performance. It's like for her, like avenging, like trying to save her world and destroy Carol Danvers at the same time. It's like I'll actually give her that she when she was doing the fight choreography with everybody, like she was really good doing all that.
That
Like
part was good. Yes.
yeah, I appreciate that, but it's like when she was doing her lines, I was like it was something missing. It's like I just didn't believe her. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't, I couldn't put it together. It's like like she was just kind of again, I just like the common theme of this movie. It's like they're characters that are just there,
Yeah.
and it's like I I wanted so much more for her because this is like I mean, this is like a big moment. It's like we have a black director, we have people of color in the main cast that are like main characters. It's like I wanted more for her, Nia DaCosta, and every person of color involved in this, and it's just
Uh,
I just feel like there was something lacking.
I'm just reading this. It says director Nia DaCosta stated in an interview that this film would be more mature and emotional Captain Marvel and more similar to the motif of WandaVision and Black Widow. Black Widow, really?
And I and the only way that I can see that it's similar in that sense is because you have a child who has grown up with various traumas, loss of a mother figure, loss of her actual mother, um, going through this where she got her powers and all of this other stuff, and now she's having to reconcile with this person. In a sense, Monica's story kind of sort of does mirror Natasha's in that way, with that trauma and losing the parents and all of that other stuff. But so I do get that. But again, I just feel like with Dar-Benn, it just, I don't know. They could have brought Jude Law's character back, and that would have made more sense to me. It would have made more sense if he was the one who was upset about what Carol did and wanting revenge. That would have made total sense to me. But this person that they've brought in is like,
even when they did the flashback where she got where like Danvers buried her under the ceiling, it's just like, okay, that's kind of, it's like they kind of did the same thing with the Spot in Beyond the Spider-Verse, like where they explained where he came from, but it's like, because they're like he got hit with a bagel, then the collider blew up and they turned him into a Spot. But it's like with this one, it seemed to kind of lack. I mean, I understand that destroying the Central Special Intelligence like caused a whole lot of problems. Okay, cool, but it's like, it just seems like I didn't get that from her. It's like I just didn't get it from her. It's like she was like, yes, this happened. I'm trying to bring. I'm stealing air from here and giving it to my people. Then I'm stealing water from there and giving it. Then I'm gonna steal your son and give it. It's like I didn't get. I would have preferred some more snidely whiplash, mustache twirling. Like it's like I would have appreciated her being more mad and being more not and being more sinister. I would have appreciated a lot her being way more sinister about this and trying to, but they tried to make her, and they tried to give her compassion, like make her a compassionate character in addition to making her the bad guy, which gave us this. And it's like, I think I could have done with her being a little less compassionate, being a little bit more of a kind of a tyrant leader than like a leader who was trying to inspire her people, saying, I'm going to fix this and I'm going to get air for us and do blah, blah, blah. I mean, I would rather her be more of a tyrant and be more like Ronan and just be meaner and be tougher and just be overall just more of a bad guy and a selfish kind of nefarious person. But she wasn't.
Yeah.
I think that's what she needed.
Yeah. That performance just kind of fell flat for me. It was probably, I would say it was probably the sole thing that I disliked about the movie, because everything else I liked or I loved. Like, I didn't really have a lot of complaints about this about this movie. Except for what we've already, discussed. But I want to start talking about some of the good stuff. So the first thing I'm going to say is this.
Don't say Flurkins.
Well, Flurkins that's a given. We already know this. But I know we haven't had a chance yet to talk about Miss Marvel on this podcast. And I promise y'all who are listening, Nick, we are going to get to it. But I will say this.
I've been the one that's bugging her about it too.
Yeah. I will say this movie definitely cemented for me the fact that Kamala Khan is one of my favorite characters to come out of the MCU, and I fucking love her family. I'm so glad we did get to see them in this film. They were hilarious. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. She was like a joy from start to finish, and I love the fact that when they introduced her in this film, they introduced her scenes in the style of the Miss Marvel show with the comic, the animation in the background. I loved it. I was like, yes, this is what we need. I loved it. I just absolutely loved it. I loved her enthusiastic responses to Carol Danvers. I loved her being over the top with Nick Fury. I loved her excitement and confusion and yet fear. Like she was very realistic for me as far as a new superhero still learning, the ins and outs of her powers and what's going on, and just trying to figure out what the hell did I get myself into. But at the same time, once she realized what was going on, she was on it. Like those fight scenes and the interchanging of all three of them and not missing a beat when it comes to the fight, that was like the best part of the film. I absolutely loved that. And I was so glad. I was like, I'm so glad I'm seeing this in IMAX because it was wonderful. I loved it.
Yeah, I loved you. She was definitely the best part of the movie. She was so good in this movie. I dispelled my disbelief at the way that she actually was an incredible fighter. I'm like, how did she become an incredible fighter again? I'm like, fuck that shit. I don't care. This shit looks really good.
She trained.
Okay.
She's been fighting crime.
She was the way she was fighting. I was like, okay, she's really good at fighting, and she's supposed to have just gotten her powers and learned how to like use them like
Listen,
that.
after she was getting her ass kicked
It's
by
not
the
that way.
gym.
No, it's not. No,
I
it's
don't
not.
think it was too far from the events of her show, but after she got her ass kicked the way she did by the gym, she was probably like, "Yep, let me double down on my fight training."
Mhm.
Yeah, but she was really good, and it did, and it was the transition and like you said, the transition between the show and the movie was seamless because they actually went back a little bit from the end credit from the CTV series.
Mm-hmm.
Just to show how it linked together. And I thought they did that perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved the scene where she came back and they told her that Carol Danvers was in the house and she was just like, I'm sorry, what?
She was like, Captain Marvel was in my living room. I loved it. And her parents, her parents could have easily been scared when these people started showing up in their house and attacking them. Her mama was like, no, grab the broom. She was fighting, dad was fighting, brother was fighting. They were all like, no, what we not about to do. I was like, see, this is why you don't this is why you don't come into the house of people of color and expect to just, no, it ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen.
I thought she was great too. It was very similar to how they introduced Spider-Man.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought because he was like, oh wow, that's Captain America. It was very similar, like excitement,
Civil War,
and being part of a team. Like, am I Avenger now? It's like, yeah, you're an Avenger. He's like, yes, I'm an Avenger. He's like, we're Marvels. I like that. I don't know. I thought she was great. That was for me, that was like the bright spot in the movie. Was her.
And the other thing about that I really liked is, with her being that enthusiastic, and the first time she comes into contact with her hero, Captain Marvel, Carol is less than nice to her, and I love the fact that once she actually sat down and she took the time to think about it, she was like, I was so not nice to you. I'm so sorry. Let's start over, because it's like she realized, okay, this is a girl who is already in way over her head.
Yeah.
And all she's doing is she's in front of her hero. And I think Carol, it might have taken her a minute to kind of get that, but I love the fact that she was able to actually look at that and be like, okay, you know what? I'm sorry. I think the thing I liked about this film the most when it comes to Carol's character is that you actually see her being more human now in this movie as opposed to the first movie where she thought she was Kree and you saw kind of a disconnect from her human emotions. In this film, I felt like she was really getting to the point where she was understanding what she had lost, because even in this film, she was telling Kamala about her having the nightmares about what the Kree did to her, her trying to remember stuff that happened to her. Now, this has been 30 years. And Monica looked at her, she was like, you're still having trouble remembering? And Carol was like, yeah. And I love that we're seeing that vulnerability from Carol, because of course this is Miss Captain Marvel. She is probably the most powerful superhero in the MCU at this point, aside from Wanda, you know, but you're getting to see that vulnerability from her. And I like the way that they're writing in there, and they're showing that she is not above reproach. They're showing that she's not above apologizing for her behavior, that she's not above taking responsibility for what she's done. And it's like once she realized who Dar-Benn was and why she was coming after her, the weight of what she did, it sat with her. You know what I'm saying? She was like, I'm the reason that she's coming after me, because I went to go destroy the Supreme Intelligence. I was the one who, you know, I don't know if she knew or not at the point that the Supreme Intelligence also controlled the sun and everything that happens to the planet. She probably didn't know. And at that time, she probably was too far gone to care, because she was too pissed about what they did. But when all of that hits her, it's kind of similar to Wanda holding the town hostage and not knowing that she did that. It's like you have these very powerful beings who at the time they're only thinking about their pain, their grief, their trauma, and they don't think about the consequences. And then once they realize what happens, it's like, what do I do? What do I do? But at least Carol did try to fix, you know, what her situation was and what she did, and was actually able to, you know, kind of you know, recompense for it.
Yeah. I, the whole it's actually, I mean, it's kind of a redemption story for her, and I think that she, because people have been so disparaging about her as in like the Brie Larson's portrayal and her as a character. Like they've said very disparaging things about her, and I think she had a
I don't
really,
understand why, because I
don't either.
love the way she portrays her.
Yeah, I do too. I think she's doing a great job. Um, Also, going back real quick, another part that we have to consider is that Kamala is one of the only heroes in the MCU that actually has her whole family behind her, like, and has like a mother, a father, and they are like actively supporting her, and she's not hiding a secret from them and having to tiptoe around and get around and get to be their super persona. She doesn't have to do that because her parents know, and her whole family knows what she's doing, and that's really that's a good point for her to be not have that burden of hiding everything from people who she loves.
Mm-hmm.
I think that um I mean that really messed me up, like knowing that. I mean, because like you said, Carol had blinders on. Like when she found out the truth in Captain Marvel, she was like, "Fuck all y'all. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to have my revenge, and I'm going to have it now. I don't care who gets in my way. I don't care who tries to stop me. I'm busting all y'all up. Let's do yeah." And it's like, yes, she needs to have some recompense for it. I mean, she did start their son back up, which is actually a pretty impressive feat in and of itself.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, she still kind of has to have a little bit of reckoning for that. And I mean, it's like saying sorry is not really going to cut it.
And just to go back to what you said about Carol talking to Kamala for the first time, we also have to take into consideration that for almost 30 years, she's been operating alone by herself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even she says in the movie, you know, it's nice to have a team. She hadn't had a team since she thought she was free.
Mm-hmm.
Like she hasn't been part of a team. I don't count your game because she really wasn't part of a team.
No, she just kind of scooped in and did some shit. But yeah.
Stuff. And so I can understand for her why it would be very difficult to try to relate to people and talk to people like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought that was, I did like that part of it because she actually admits that. She says, you know, it's nice to be in part of a team again.
Mm-hmm. Or not even just the part about being on a team, but having people around her, because think about it, it was just her and Goose for a long time.
A long time. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, yeah. I love Kamala. I'm so glad we got to see her in this film. That was like one of the best things about this film. The other thing, let's go back to the planet where people sing to communicate. That was so not what I was expecting. And it was so weird because when they got to the planet and Carol had the little hat thing and she was like, look, it's going to be weird, there's going to be a custom. And then when she said the custom thing, I said, oh, she married that dude that she was talking about.
Mhm.
And then she puts it on and they start singing to her. When they say princess, I was like, oh, this took a turn.
Okay.
This took a turn. And it was
Shout,
that whole sequence.
shout out to Kamala for instantly getting into it and starting dancing while they're walking into the courtyard. She's already like she's in a Bollywood movie. She's like, yeah,
Because it was
okay,
similar. It was
it was really
similar.
similar. It was
Mhm.
outstandingly similar. That was very well done. And it's like, I mean, and Monica was just like, what the fuck? And she was like, okay. And she had no rhythm. Okay, she didn't even have any rhythm. I'm like, damn it, woman, come on, work with me here. She was just like, I'm like, what are you doing?
And the prince happens to be bilingual. That was funny.
Oh,
That was awesome.
I love that whole. Love that whole thing. And then when Carol was sitting there, she was like, "Just go with it." And then her suit changes to a dress. I was like, "Wait, what?" And then she starts singing. That was so not what I was expecting. And
That
I
was tight.
thought it was gonna be like when I got over the initial, "Oh my God, this is so cheesy." It was really fun because
Yeah.
sometimes when you see scenes like that in films, especially if it doesn't fit, it feels very cringy and you're kind of looking at it like this, like, oh my God, will this scene hurry up and be over? And I thought that I would feel that once the scene started. And I actually didn't because I thought, even though it seemed very out of place and very not Carol Danvers, again, we don't know what Carol has been doing in her 30 years away from the earth. So I just I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very funny. I thought it was very well placed. And the thing is, it didn't last too long. They didn't, overdo it.
Milk it, yeah.
Right. They did exactly what they needed to do. And once she played her part, she was like, you and I need to talk. No more singing. We need to talk. And he was like, okay. I loved it. I was like, okay. So they made sure that she was there. She respected their customs. And then once she did what she was supposed to, she was like, okay, you and I need to talk. Let's go. Bam, bam, bam. This is about to happen. We're about to be attacked, blah, blah, blah. And when old boy showed up in his armor, I was like, okay, it's about to go down. I loved it. It was so much fun. And it was, like I said, so unexpected.
Oh, shout out to them for giving Monica Rambeau one of the original like Captain America / Photon outfits when she was on the plane and they gave them like
right
a uniform, like the chiffon that she had like from her wrist going down there is actually in one of Monica Rambeau's original costumes.
Okay.
And
she was like, this is too much.
Shout out to them for acknowledging the scarf and use the scarf. And she starts using the scarf.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was dope.
Yeah, for Kamala, that was cool. Yeah. So the other good thing I want to talk about, yes, Anthony, we're going to talk about the Flurkins now. We have to talk about the Flurkins. We have to talk about Goose and okay, first of all, I did not think that those were eggs. I thought that those were brains. I thought they were brains at first. When I first saw it. And then I was like, wait, that looks weird. And then I started thinking back and I was like, oh, Kamala's mom did say something about the fact that Goose looked like she was picking up some weight.
Yeah.
I was like,
that should have been your trigger right there. That was the moment I was like, oh, this thing is pregnant.
Well, see, I wasn't paying
attention. Where's the male Flurkin?
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. It was a male. Even though I just said they've always referred to Goose as a male. And so I didn't think that way. And then when they started talking about how many of those things were all around, I was like, at first I thought it was some kind of invasion. I was like, that wouldn't make sense. And then I thought about it. I was like, oh, wait a minute. And then when they found Goose I was like, oh, this is about to be
So
a thing.
yeah,
Like, this is why we've seen all the cats in the ads.
yeah. So I think I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that whatever home planet they're from, they have a lot of predators because creatures that do that, they
Mm-hmm.
like to multiply a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not uncommon for some creatures, even on this planet, to have sexes of they have the reproductive organs of both
They're asexual,
male
yeah.
and female.
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't surprise me,
Yeah.
especially it being an alien.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But like I'm pretty sure that would explain why Goose multiplied exponentially. Is the tribbles. They're on the planet where they have a lot of natural predators,
Mm-hmm.
so they have to multiply a lot.
Mm-hmm. And that came in handy because
It was
when they
stupid.
had to evacuate and they only had a limited number of escape pods, I forgot who it was that came up with the idea of, oh, this is what we can do. When the Flurkins started eating the people, they were like, no, let them eat you. What?
What?
In the
Let them eat you.
automated voice, do not run from the Flurkins.
That was hilarious watching those Flurkins eat the people. And then the one big dude, big black dude who was throughout the whole thing, he was just like, and he actually jumped backwards.
He held his nose like he was about to
Yeah,
dive
so he
in.
jump in the water.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Again, it was 5 minutes. That sequence was 5 minutes too long.
Whatever. It was fun.
Everything after that was
It
unnecessary.
was fun. It was fun. Because that was, I mean, when you think about it, it's actually a
I
very
don't want
smart.
to. I don't want to. I don't want to think about it.
I mean, think about it. Think about it, Anthony. Think about it. You can either leave some
Think,
people
Anthony,
on the
think.
ship to die, or you can just have them be a part of a Flarkin for about 10, 15 minutes, however long it takes for them to get to Earth.
Again, I didn't have a problem with the process. I had a problem with spending 10 minutes of the movie time on the process, but I can't get a deep dive on Monica Rambeau's
I know.
trauma issues.
I know. And I felt like they were a little too what's the word? I felt a little bit like a voyeur when they showed Goose sitting there cleaning himself, and
Yeah,
Kamala's
I was like,
mom was like,
yo.
yeah, I was like, especially the way that he was doing it, because when they turned the camera back to him, he was like very slowly licking himself. And I was like, okay, why are they trying to make this like weird?
And
They're
then
making it weird.
the tentacle comes out.
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
this is so weird. Like, why? Why? But I like the Flurkins. It was fun. I like seeing all the little kittens because I kept wondering, like in the promos, when you see all the kittens floating around, I was like, okay, not that I'm complaining about kittens, but how does this fit into the story? I was really wondering about that, and we got it, and I like it. And we'll probably never see it again.
Nope.
Whatever. Anthony's like, yep. But it was fun.
We're good. Let's move on.
Let's see. Oh, okay. So let's go ahead and talk about that end credit scene. Because
Young Avengers, baby.
The end
Finally
credit
doing
scene?
it.
oh no. Okay, let's
The
talk about
actual
the
end of
final
the movie.
Let's talk about the final scene, and then we'll talk about the mid credit scene.
To Kamala Khan doing her best Nick Fury imitation from Iron Man.
That was cute.
And
That was
showing up to
awesome.
Kate and Pizza Dog. I was like, okay.
As soon as I saw the Labrador, I was like, oh shit, what the fuck are we doing?
No, people in my theater, they were like, yay, yes. And some people were like, who is that? And I was like, oh, y'all obviously
Y'all
didn't
gotta go.
talk.
Get out.
Right. So, yeah, Kate, we get a shot of Kate Bishop coming into her apartment or whatever, and there's a figure sitting on a chair, and it's Kamala Khan. And like you said, Mike, she's doing her best Nick Fury impersonation, talking about I'm trying to put together a team and blah, 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 blah.
You
I
think
was
you're
like,
the only child superhero in the universe?
right.
It's awesome.
I like the fact that Kate apparently sensed that she was friend, because the fact that Kamala didn't have an arrow going through her within the first 2 seconds of Kate coming in that door, I was impressed.
Or having a bottle of sriracha fly at her head or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi.
But yeah, so we see that I guess they are going to start this whole what is Young Avengers thing.
Yeah, because what did
Well,
she
see,
say?
they were saying,
said,
there's a theory out that they were saying that since Secret Wars is coming out and a lot of the regular heroes might be off world, that they could assemble the Young Avengers together to take care of whatever people trying to take advantage of that on Earth. So that could be what could happen if they do like a limited series or a movie on it. So
okay. Yeah,
it was funny. She said, "Did you know Ant-Man had a daughter?"
Yep.
Yeah.
See, they already got three. So which I'm sorry. I have a theory.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
What's your theory?
So we have. So they've already kind of established that they're going to have 3 people to put in this group that they haven't dubbed Young Avengers, but is basically leading down that path. And we know that there have been a few people who have been introduced that are Young Avengers. So what I'm thinking is in the upcoming Falcon movie, upcoming Captain America movie, I think there's going to be a scene where Elijah gets his powers.
I think he has them already.
I don't think he has them already. No, not Isaiah. No, Elijah doesn't have powers.
The grandson.
The grandson.
He should.
How?
He would have inherited them.
Hmm.
And they just haven't manifested yet?
Well, why would you say they haven't manifested?
Because we didn't see anything. He would have done something. He would have done something in Falcon Winter Soldier to show us that he had some.
Maybe not. If
Isaiah knew what he knows, he is not gonna let that boy move a goddamn thing. Because he knows if he shows them that he has powers, they're gonna swoop in and take his ass away.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
I can go along with that.
But yeah, he inherited his powers.
Okay, I can see that. And they're also mentioning that one or more of the twins could show up in the Agatha in the Coven of Chaos or whatever Agatha.
I think one of them was already confirmed to be in it.
Yeah, Billy's confirmed.
Yeah,
okay. Wiccan's confirmed to be in.
Spoilers.
Yeah. So all we need are a Hulkling, Kid Nova.
Well, they already introduced Scar.
Yeah, it says Scar could be in there too
because he was in.
He was in She-Hulk.
Yeah,
and then She-Hulk.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I mean, they introduced Kid Loki too. I mean, you could throw him in there too.
And isn't Yelena part of that as well?
Sure
could be.
Okay. So they're getting those
there's a lot of kids out.
Even though her and Kate are like early mid-20s.
Okay.
They're still young. That's young.
Yeah. Well,
we're not talking about Teen Titans. We're talking about Young Avengers.
Yeah, but I was gonna say I think Elena may be a little bit older than that.
It's probably
because Natasha had to be close to 40, and there wasn't that big a gap between Yelena and Natasha.
You know, in comic books, they play fast and loose with ages.
That's true. Okay.
She's 26 years old.
She was mature for her age. Yes, when she was young, she was actually 3. Yeah, so now she's
and
now she's
what's
20.
her name? She was Black Widow's probably like 30, 32.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
That's what they did. They matured for their age.
Okay. Yes. So we got that part in the final scene of the movie, and then in the mid-credit scene, we get Monica waking up. So what happens in the movie is that Monica has to quote unquote sacrifice herself because Darban has opened up these different.
She opened up a hole in space-time.
Yeah, and Monica had to use her powers to close it, but she had to go on the other side, which was in another.
I don't know. I have no idea why she had to go on the other side.
Why?
Plot device.
The only reason they had her do that was so they could tease us with Beast and Binary. That's the only reason they did it.
That's okay, but because I'll take it. Because at some point that means we will see Monica again. She's not completely lost, and even Carol doesn't believe that she's completely lost. She was like, "Hey, until Monica comes back." But
oh, I got it, Mike, because the band punched that way. It's easier to push than to pull. That's why she's on that side.
Are we really doing the PI? Yeah, the glass was inside the house, not outside the house. So this was an inside job. Are we really doing that?
Whatever the reason, it doesn't matter. Monica is gone from our side of the world. That's that.
She's in another.
So she wakes up in a hospital, and there is a person sitting next to her hospital bed who is the spitting image of her mother. And she wakes up and she's emotional. She's like, "Mom, I've missed you. I'm so glad you're here, blah, blah, blah." And the Maria, not Maria, is like, "I think you have me confused with someone else." And the doctor comes in and she was like, "Yeah, I think she's confused." And they show us the doctor, and it's Beast from the
Oh my God, Kelsey Grammer Beast, the best one. I'm sorry,
I was like,
all due respect to Nicholas Hoult, Kelsey Grammer's Beast is the Beast. Is the one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Nicholas Holt's Beast was the younger version. So
yeah, but
I just like how he so matter of factly says, basically, "Oh, she's not confused. She's from a different reality."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and he just says it like, "Yeah, this is normal." And then
I mean that's how Beast was in the X-Men cartoon. He was just like, he never was really surprised by anything. He was just like, "Oh, that's what happened. Okay, cool.
Okay,
let's figure it out."
Yeah. So that kind of further cements the idea that they are bringing the X-Men to the MCU. Yay.
Sort of, yeah.
Sort of.
It's an alternate. It's still a different reality.
Well,
we'll see when they do Secret Wars.
Yeah,
we'll see how everything pans out when Secret Wars happens.
Yeah. Or I mean, we may not even have to wait that long, depending on whatever it is they decide to put in Deadpool.
Well, Deadpool should be set in this universe.
Deadpool's gonna be set everywhere. Deadpool's gonna have a whole lot of different settings because they've already established that he can time jump, so he's gonna be fucking everywhere. So we don't even try to start to think where he's gonna be. If things gonna be set, that's just gonna be all over the fucking place. But
so basically, at the end of this film,
they
basically told us Young Avengers is coming and X-Men is coming in some point. I'm here for both of it. I was just sitting at the end of that movie like, yay.
And shout out to Binary. Binary is a character that is actually Carol Danvers. It's an alternate universe version of Carol Danvers, who is actually her power level is a little bit higher because she actually has the full power of it. She can control the full power of a star. Like she is like really fucking powerful.
Well,
like,
that was also one of the many names that Monica Rambeau has gone by.
Right.
Spectrum, Pulsar, Binary.
None of which she took in this film because Kamala was doing her best to give her a code.
You call it Professor Marvel. I was like, that's not going to stick, Kamala.
She was like, I don't want a name. I don't want a name. So that also tells me, or at least I hope, that the fact that they did not give her a superhero name or a code name in this film, hopefully that means that there is still something coming that's going to give us a little bit more background on Monica to where we can get the things that we talked about at the beginning of this episode as far as connecting with her, finding out more about her backstory, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think in a lot of the online things I've seen, she's the Spectrum version of Monica Rambeau. Since they gave Maria Binary, so yeah, I don't think they're gonna do Pulsar, or they're definitely not gonna go Captain Marvel.
Okay. So
yeah, we'll see.
It's gonna be Photon or Spectrum. I can see it either one.
I think it's gonna be Spectrum.
Yeah,
I think because she talked about being able to see the full spectrum.
Yeah.
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 Which is why I said when we were discussing WandaVision, I was like, that has to be her name because like you can see
So
her see the like
Mhm.
light spectrum. So
just going back a little bit, I know we're talking about the post credit scene. So when Kamala put on both bands, the quantum bands,
Mhm.
and I thought, why didn't it affect her the way it affected our band? It's because she's descended from probably the people that created them.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
from
And
the
I think
Jin
she
or
kind
the
of,
And
yeah, and
and
I
I,
think she mentioned that too because when they talked about her, when Carol said something to her about it, like, "Are you going to be okay?" She was like, "These bands have found their way to me through time and space.
mhm,
This is I was meant for this."
yeah.
And I think that's really what it was. Like she was meant to have both bands and for it to be a part of her.
Yeah. And the other thing, I had an interesting discussion with a young man that was next to us for about 15 minutes after the movie.
Okay.
And one of the things we talked about, he mentioned that, in the comic books, she's an inhuman. And I thought,
Mhm.
well, there's nothing that is saying that the jinn that she's descended from are not inhuman.
Mm-hmm.
They're just
Clandestines. That's what it is. The
yeah,
clandestines.
they're
Yes, that's what.
from a
Uh-huh.
different yeah, but they're just from a different dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But they could still be inhumans. So yeah, they the thing about Loki, we talked about it, not Loki. Yeah, end of Loki season 1, when we said they basically have the ability to do whatever they want.
Whatever they want. Mm-hmm.
They have the ability to do whatever they want. And
Mm-hmm.
that's still, that is what I'm holding on to. That is what gets me excited. And we talked about, he's like, how are they going to get the X-Men over to this universe? I'm like, Secret Wars. All of this stuff is going to be resolved in
Mhm.
Secret Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Especially now with, oh wait, I don't want to spoil Loki for anybody.
Yeah, but yeah, I was gonna say
With
yes.
that, yeah.
Well, we'll just say especially with the events of Loki season 2.
Yeah.
Let's just put it like that. So yeah.
That just solidifies Secret Wars. I was like, I see where they're kind of headed,
Yeah.
especially
But
now
now
with
we're gonna have to wait
Monica
for it.
in another dimension.
Mm-hmm.
And I still don't quite sure understand how the incursions work, but I think that's going to have something to do with it.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, we won't know for sure for a while because Marvel just pushed their whole release schedule for the next year. So everything that was coming out next year is being pushed to 2025 and so on and so forth. So I'm like
Man, we're not
okay.
going to get a Black Panther movie till like 2029, 2030.
Dude, by the time we get a Black Panther movie, young Prince T'Challa is going to be old enough to play him.
Right. He
Well, I
will
mean,
be. He
that
really will be.
yeah, that might be the thing. Who knows? But
Mm.
let's see. Is there anything else we need to talk about with this film? Let's see.
Um,
I think we hit on most of the highlights. Again, I
I
love the fact that it was so woman driven, female driven. I don't like that villain. I just I just didn't.
yeah. I like again just to not to beat a dead horse, but I'm so looking forward to what they do with the Vellani going forward because I think this is what happens when you put somebody who knows the source material in a position where they can actually perform the source material and make it likable and make it where people want to know more about it. And it's
Mhm.
like Amon Vellani is such a Marvel nerd that she puts so much effort into her performance that you see it come out of her,
Mhm.
and that gets people excited to see what else she can do. And she's the perfect choice to be trying to gather the young Avengers because that'll get people interested in it and wanting to see what comes about it because I mean she's really the new star and and I'm glad that she's not getting caught up in all the bullshit that's going on these days. Even though some people think that people haven't gone to see the movie because of that bullshit, which is trash. But I think that she's definitely the future of this. of the
What
MCU.
bullshit are you talking about?
Like the Iran Pakistani shit. Like,
Oh, okay,
people are
okay,
stupid.
okay, okay,
You know how people are stupid.
okay, okay.
But it's like,
I just need for the next time we see Nick Fury that Abraham Papula, who plays Dag, should be like his right hand man because I thought he was amazing.
yes, he was awesome. Shout
He
out
was
to him.
amazing.
I
Yeah.
really liked him. I
Yeah.
think that, you know what? I hate to say it. It's time for Nick to step down. I it's just it's time because the last couple times we've seen him, he's been less of a Nick than we've seen before. So it's like, and this would have been the perfect opportunity for Maria Hill to step in, but they had to kill her at the beginning of fucking Secret Invasion.
We are not even going there because
Okay.
we will be here for another 30 minutes
And on that
talking
note,
about how dumb that decision was. But
yeah, but it's like I feel like Samuel L. Jackson, bless his heart, he's one of my favorite actors, but he's showing his age like in this. It's like, I don't want him to go, but I don't want him to embarrass himself. I don't want him to make a mockery out of what he's built as how he's built this character. I mean, just remember
I don't know if
that
I would say it's necessarily him or his age. I need the writers to do their job
the
and give him
writers,
better shit to work
they
with.
got to do better.
that too.
The writers have
That
to
too.
do better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because he can be
like,
an old man and still be Nick Fury.
Right.
Yeah.
They just got to do better.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah. I mean, the writing recently, with very few exceptions, has been atrocious.
Yeah.
Like with very few exceptions.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to change. Even though they're not even, and the bad thing is they're not even being pushed by the DCEU yet. And it's like you're already just stopping and letting them catch up. And it's like, just keep doing what you're doing. Like, why? It's frustrating. It's really frustrating as a fan to see how they're like not really executing the way they should.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. Any final thoughts about the Marvels?
My final thought is I don't want anyone listening to think I didn't like the movie. I liked the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. I just had a lot of problems with it.
Right.
I thought it was a really fun movie. I liked the movie. It's just that there's certain things that you see that you have to call out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the whole part of being a fan is being able to be honest with the thing that you're a fan of. It's like there are things that are great about this movie and there are things that are not so great about this movie. It's just like with a whole lot of things in the MCU. There are really good things, there are really bad things. And
No,
you have
I
to
just wanted to future proof my comments for Nick because Nick likes to pull stuff out that I say. So I'm just future proofing.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's like you as a fan, you have to be honest with what you're a fan of. You can't just blindly say this was great and nothing was wrong with it. You have to be able to say this was good, but it could have been better. And that's the only way that you get a better product is if you force them to notice that they're doing good, but things are not the way they used to be, and you have to improve. So there's always room for improvement.
Yeah. I guess the only final thought I am going to have is that you guys need to work on getting us Monica's backstory. Give us fully fleshed out Monica Rambeau. You do it for everybody else. You do it for characters we don't even give a fuck about. Give us a fully fleshed out Monica Rambeau so that we can be interested and follow her story moving forward. Because if you don't, that is a disservice to her. It's a disservice to the actress Teyana. It's just a disservice. So just do her justice. So on that note, that is it for our show. You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Threads at Fandom Hybrid. You can chat with us on our Discord channel. You can watch our videos on our YouTube channel, and you can listen to us on all major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.